For centuries, historians called it the Dark Ages, 1,000 years of ignorance, of superstition, of people who knew nothing. They were wrong. In the last 20 years, scientists testing ancient medieval medical treatments have found something nobody expected. The treatments work, not sort of, not partially, clinically confirmed, reproducible results, published in peer-reviewed journals. One medieval treatment is now FDA-approved. Another turned out to be the molecular origin of the most consumed drug in human history. A third is now the last option standing when every modern antibiotic fails. The question is not whether they had knowledge. The question is how. 7 skills, 7 proofs. Let's go. Skill 1. Honey. The year is 1241, Eastern Poland. A field surgeon is treating wounded soldiers after a Mongol assault. He is pouring honey directly into open wounds. Not bandages, honey. For 700 years, this was called primitive, irrational, the act of someone with no real medicine. In 2011, researchers at Cardiff University tested raw Manuka honey against MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, the infection that kills 300,000 people every year and defeats most modern antibiotics. Honey killed it. The mechanism is chemical. Honey creates a low pH, low moisture, high hydrogen peroxide environment inside a wound. Bacteria cannot survive it. The protective coating MRSA uses to block antibiotics dissolves under it. In 2019, the World Health Organization listed MRSA as a Priority 1 global health threat. Researchers are now formally testing honey-based treatments as a replacement for antibiotics that no longer work. The surgeon in 1241 did not know any of that. He just knew it worked. It took science 780 years to explain why. Skill 2. Willow bark. Medieval monks handed strips of willow bark to patients with fever, headache, and joint pain. They had been doing this for centuries. It came from ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, passed forward through monastic medicine across Europe. Modern science dismissed it. In 1897, a German chemist named Felix Hoffmann isolated the active compound in willow bark, salicylic acid, modified into acetyl salicylic acid. He called it aspirin. Today, aspirin is the most consumed drug in human history. Over 100 billion tablets taken every year, confirmed to reduce heart attack risk, stroke, and certain cancers. The foundation of the entire NSAID drug class, filling every pharmacy on Earth. It came from a strip of bark. A medieval monk was handing it out in 1350. He did not know the chemistry. He just knew what it did, and he wrote it down. Skill 3. Maggots. This one is disturbing. Stay with it. Medieval battlefield surgeons noticed that soldiers whose wounds became infested with fly larvae often survived. Soldiers with clean, sealed wounds often died of gangrene. That observation was dismissed for 600 years. In 1929, a surgeon at Johns Hopkins named William Baer applied maggots to infected bone tissue that was not responding to any treatment. The results were unlike anything recorded before. The maggots ate only dead tissue. They secreted compounds that killed bacteria. They cleaned wounds that no surgical instrument could reach, and they left living tissue untouched. The FDA-approved maggot therapy in 2004, medical-grade maggots are now used in hospitals across the US, UK, Germany, and Australia, specifically for drug-resistant infections that antibiotics cannot touch. Clinical trials are currently studying the compounds they secrete because no pharmaceutical lab has replicated them yet. A medieval surgeon noticed this on a battlefield. It took modern medicine 600 years to put it in a clinical setting. Skill 4. Leeches. Medieval medicine used leeches for almost everything. Most of it was wrong. The bad blood theory caused real harm across centuries. But one application was correct, discovered by accident. In microsurgery, reattaching a severed finger or limb requires reconnecting both arteries and veins. Arteries are manageable. Veins are not.
Blood pools, tissue dies, the reattachment fails. The solution surgeons use today is leeches. A leech attached to reattached tissue creates a blood draw that mimics normal venous return. The tissue survives, the limb is saved. The FDA approved medicinal leech therapy in 2004, the same year as maggots. Leech farms in Wales and France now supply hospitals. The anticoagulant compound in leech saliva, herodin, is being synthesized for stroke treatment and cardiac surgery. Medieval barber surgeons found the application by accident. Modern medicine found no better replacement. 4 skills confirmed. Here's the question that changes how you see all of this. These were not lucky accidents. Each treatment was identified, documented, refined, and passed forward across generations, across countries, across centuries, by people with no microscopes, no chemistry, no germ theory. What kind of knowledge does that require? I want your answer in the comments. Tell me your country and what you think, because the next 3 go deeper than medicine.
Skill 5. Fermented foods. Medieval peasants ate fermented food every day, not by choice, by necessity. Wild yeast bread, brine-preserved vegetables, fermented dairy, daily ale because the water was not safe, grains soaked and fermented before cooking. The medieval gut was continuously loaded with diverse live bacterial cultures. Gut microbiome science did not exist until 2006. What it found changed nutritional medicine completely. Dietary diversity of gut bacteria reduces inflammation, strengthens immune response, and protects against the metabolic diseases now driving the modern health crisis. Stanford University published a 2021 trial confirming that high fermented food diets increase microbiome diversity and reduce inflammatory markers across the board. The medieval peasant eating brine vegetables and wild yeast bread was not healthier despite his diet. He was healthier because of it. Science just needed 700 years to measure what was happening. Skill 6. Monastic fasting. Medieval monks fasted on strict schedules, 1 meal per day, sometimes 2, combined with physical labor and early rising. Not as performance, as discipline. Calendared and enforced across monasteries throughout Europe. In 2012, Yoshinori Osumi won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine for discovering autophagy, the process where the body, during fasting periods of 16 to 24 hours, systematically breaks down damaged cellular components, recycling dysfunctional proteins, clearing precancerous cell debris. Autophagy is now one of the most researched processes in cancer defense, aging, and metabolic science. Intermittent fasting, 16 hours, is linked to reduced insulin resistance, improved cognitive function, and lower Alzheimer's risk. Benedictine monks in 10th century France were triggering Nobel Prize-winning cellular processes daily. They called it discipline. Science calls it autophagy. The cells did not care what it was called. Skill 7. Valerian root. Medieval apothecaries stocked valerian root in every shop across Europe. For anxiety, for sleeplessness, for what they called melancholia of the nerves. Dried, ground, and steeped in water. Standard treatment. Dismissed for centuries as placebo. In 2002, the Charité Hospital in Berlin published a double-blind, placebo-controlled trial. Valerian root produced statistically significant improvements in sleep quality, sleep onset time, and nighttime waking. No side effects, no dependency. The mechanism. Compounds in valerian interact directly with GABA receptors in the brain, the same system targeted by Valium and Xanax. The medieval apothecary was dispensing a GABA modulator 6 centuries before neuropharmacology existed. Close. 7 skills, 7 proofs, 7 moments where controlled trials with modern instruments arrived at exactly what medieval practitioners already knew. The Dark Ages is a label invented in the 14th century, a verdict declared by Italian scholars who decided everything between Rome and their own time was worthless. That verdict shaped how centuries of historians read the evidence. It was wrong. These people did not have laboratories. They had something else.
thousands of patients, hundreds of years, dozens of institutions, monasteries, battlefield hospitals, apothecary networks, all filtering the same question: what works and what does not?
They were running the longest clinical trial in history, and they recorded the results. The manuscripts still exist: monastery archives in Germany, collections in Oxford, Vatican libraries that have not been fully cataloged. Researchers who go looking keep finding the same thing.
The knowledge was there. We stopped reading it. The real question is not what they knew. The real question is, what else is in those manuscripts that science has not tested yet?